Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store, where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Duke on Twitch. Back today with a deck tech around Legacy Hammer Time. This is a mono-white aggressive deck that I picked up off Spiderspace, aka Gabe, which really sparked my interest. So he took the list and narrowly missed on the top 8 of the Legacy Showcase with a 7-2 finish, with all wins being 2-0s, which is pretty nice. His matches were 2-0 versus Delver, 2-0 versus Jeskai Control, looks like he had a bye, 1-2 versus Elves, 2-0 versus Delver, 2-0 versus Tez, 0-2 versus Reanimator, 2-0 versus Reanimator, so nice to get back on Reanimator, and then 2-0 versus 5-color Zenith for an 11th place finish. And this is really cool because I really like to see modern decks ported into Legacy to see how they fare. Obviously, Hammer is a deck that's doing really well right now. It's performing as a kind of tier 1 deck within Modern, and there's a few different versions of it. Gabe has just gone with a mono white version here, which I really like because I think with the start of any process, especially as a Maverick player, if I want to go back and see how Maverick's doing, I like to start off with green-white, and from there add the splashes based on how the deck performs, what the weaknesses are, where it doesn't need help. So starting off mono-white is really nice. There's obviously, as a low-to-the-ground deck, some benefit of adding cards like potentially Daze, if you have enough blue cards, maybe even things like blue hate spells like Meddling Mage or Lavinia, but for now, as a mono-white deck, it looks really solid. And so I took this and had a few games, and it was a solid deck. But as a fair player and as a lover of Mother of Runes, I had to play Mum. The other card that I actually cut was a few lands. I went down to 20 lands. And although I do have another version of this deck to show, this is the list that I currently have. So we still have the main plan of getting a Colossus Hammer into play and hopefully attaching it for free through either Sigarda's Aid, 4 copies, or the 4 copies of Puresteel Paladin. We can win with 1 swing through Inkmoth Nexus, which is really nice. But of course, we also have some other creatures that are just really nice to equip up and swing in, most likely over 2 turns, unless we have multiple hammers in play. So to find the hammers, we have 4 Stoneforge Mystic and 4 Urza's Saga. As part of the Stoneforge Mystic plan, we have a Jitte, which is still, in 2022, still a fine equipment, especially in the fair mirrors. Really nice. And a great way to get rid of opposing Mother of Runes. I found that in the D&T matchup. Because you have constructs, it means that they can't really control combat as much as they want because of the colorless nature of the constructs, that Jitte can, start removing creatures, whereas in, say, a mono-white D&T matchup, it might be a bit harder. Kaldra as well, I just think is kind of a free win, and I will talk about that to some extent later, but I think Kaldra with Stoneforge right now is just, it's very hard to play Stoneforge in a deck without Kaldra there as well. We then also have a Shadowspear, which can also be found with the Urza Saga. So Saga, of course, really powerful in this deck because it can find a lot of cards here. It can find Ornithopters if you want a flying creature. It can find equipment in Hammer and Shadowspear. It can just find another map if you want to go find a Nexus, find Karakas, find another Saga. We have Needle, of course, as well. Needle on Wasteland is actually quite good in this matchup. A little bit like Depths, where you want to be protecting your lands like Inkmoth and Saga because they are just so good at being just a really viable threat from your strategy, and can be really threatening for them, of course. We then, of course, have 4 Mox Opal. So the mana so far hasn't been too bad. I think, if anything, I would like to find room for a second Karakas without going down on the planes. I think 7 planes is pretty low. So we do have 16 white sources, 12 if you don't count the Mox Opals. The Moxen I would count as, kind of 0.5 because it does rely on other things to get online. But it hasn't been bad so far. I've found the mana base has been pretty good, but I do need to do a little bit more work around what the best number of land or mana sources is based on the curve of the deck, and also, you know, things like Puresteel Paladin. So like, what are the chances, Frank Carsten, please help me out, of having, you know, double white on turn 1 based on this current mana base? That would be really nice to know. We then also have some protection. So Esper Sentinel has been by far probably the best card in the deck. It allows you to get early affinity online. It usually either draws you a card or trades with removal on turn 1, which means in a lot of matchups, I rather spend turn 1 casting Esper Sentinel over Mother of Runes, and then if Esper lives, either getting a Mum online or trying to get it equipped ASAP. Because down the line, even if a hammer is on a Sentinel and your opponent has something like Maze of Ith out, it's very hard for them to not allow you to draw cards because of the power and toughness of Esper Sentinel. But yeah, Esper Sentinel has been fantastic as just a card advantage engine, which is nice. Usually trading for itself, but enough times to note that it has at least put me up 1 card, which is fantastic. Mother of Runes was a card that Gabe wasn't playing around with, which is fair enough. You could say that this deck doesn't eat it because of the consistency of what you have. You have a lot of playsets. You have 8 threats in total of different creatures. So Mum, you know, I can definitely see why it might not be in here, or why you might go something like Giver of Runes, which can give you protection from things like Maze of Ith or opposing Construct. But it's quite hard to find the space for a giver, and I think if you did, it'd probably be with these 3. This is kind of the flex spot right now, in my opinion. But the 3 Canonists work quite nicely in the deck. You don't have too many times where you want to cast more than 1 non-artifact spell a turn. So Canonist is actually quite nice at just making sure this deck has game against combo in game 1, as early as game 1. It also opens up the sideboard where I've taken out the Deafening Silences and gone more towards some of the graveyard decks, or graveyard hate towards graveyard combo decks, because I think Canonist is just a solid choice to have in the deck. It's protection and disruption. It can, of course, be equipped, which is fantastic, so it does a little bit more there. But I think in further testing, it could be a case of having a mix of both Canonist and Deafening Silence. Canonist, of course, not great against 8 cast. Deafening Silence on the play, pretty nice. Canonist also just open to a little bit more removal than Deafening Silence. And being a mono white deck that doesn't have Force of Will or any sort of free counter magic like Mindbreak Trap, it can be the case of we don't have the luxury of playing a 2-mana combo hate piece. We have to have Deafening Silence to have it on turn 1 to make sure we can then at least put a speed bump on the field before our opponent goes off. But in testing so far, Canonist has been really nice. Even against the deck like Delver game 1, making Expressive Iterations a little more awkward is really nice. And also making sure your opponent can't cantrip into removal on the same turn. I've had that come up where I had a Canonist and a Mum in play, and they pondered, and they obviously found Bolt because later on they bolted me into the face, but they couldn't actually ponder into the Bolt for the Mum because they had to allow us to untap to cast the Bolt. So that was pretty sweet. But I think the main deck overall has been really solid. There's been a few mulligans that have actually worked out quite well. So I don't think the deck is that bad at mulliganing, which is quite nice. I do think the top decks as the game goes on aren't as great because of things like Mox Opal and Ornithopter. But generally, the deck has performed really well. And I think, although I'm not going to say it's a tier 1 deck, I do think it has a lot of legs. And the joke is that, obviously Gabe, Spider Space, sent me through the list or posted it online. And there are 8 or 9 if you copy the germ creatures in here. So I think the deck has 8 legs and has a lot of potential, especially if players get around it, try out new things. And I'm very open to feedback as well. I definitely don't think I'm a great deck builder by any standards, but I do really love to sink my teeth into a deck, get some leagues going, get some reps going, and try to figure out, okay, what does this deck do well? What do I not need help for in the sideboard? What does it do poorly against? What do I need in the sideboard to make sure those games 2 and 3 go well? Let's make sure we're always getting a game 3 against the decks where we don't have a great game 1. That's kind of my strategy around the sideboard. And so that's why we've got things like Leyline of the Void and Swords to Plowshares, just making sure we have some of the most powerful cards in Legacy in the sideboard for the matchups where we want it. We want those Leylines for the early graveyard hate. We want the swords for things like Blue-White Murktide. And then, yeah, just building out on the graveyard hate, we have Relic of Progenitus, which I think is great in this version because we don't use the graveyard. I think this is better than Soul Guide Lantern because it comes down as early as turn 1. It really allows us to control the graveyard at instant speed, which is fantastic. So over time against something like Blue-Red Delver or lands, I find it extraordinarily better. Also being able to exile graveyards and draw a card in the same activation is a huge play up, and I really like that. It also allows us to turn on Affinity, which is fantastic for Mox Opal and Puresteel Paladin, and it's just generally great for the matchups that have incremental advantage through the graveyard, like an Uro deck, or maybe even a Knight of the Reliquary deck, where I don't want to bring in those Leylines. Leyline's definitely for the Reanimator, Oopsal spells, Dredge type matchups. But, you know, Lion Sash, another great graveyard piece that is a threat as well, can be tutored for through Stoneforge Mystic. So it's nice to have this sort of 3-3 split, having those, you know, 6 pieces of good combo hate, but having some for when we don't have the time to set up, and then having these other ones which are great towards our plan, but also do have that effect on our opponent's ability to use that graveyard as a resource. I believe Gabe was playing a mix of March of the Otherworldly Light, which were actually quite nice. March is cool because as early as turn 1, it can take out an Urza Saga straight away, even before they can tap it for mana, which is quite nice. I just found that sometimes the mana efficiency of March wasn't great because a lot of the time I wanted to deal with a turn 1 threat, and the other thing was there were some awkward times where I had March in hand and they had a Murktide Region in play, and I just wished it was a Swords to Plowshares. So I've just gone for the 4 swords in this build. Selfless Spirit is an interesting one. Selfless is quite nice because it does allow us to keep some things in play after a sweeper effect like Force of Vigor potentially, or even Meltdown. It doesn't hit lands and artifacts and enchantments, artifacts like Mox Opal, but a lot of the times where my opponent has cast Meltdown, it's been in the mid to late game where I've had constructs already in play, and it's been a case of if I have a Selfless Spirit in play, the constructs themselves will just untap and win the game. So it's not a case of, you know, Selfless Spirit doesn't save Ancient Den or Mox Opal or Hammer, so it just can't be played. It's a case of kind of finding out that in the matchup with Blue-Red or any sort of red deck, that a lot of the time, they also don't really care about that. That's more the cream on top. The real threat that they want to deal with is construct tokens with Meltdown, because things like Bolt don't kill 4/4 tokens, of course. So Spirit in that world has been really nice. It's also a flyer. It's also a 2/1 creature, so it is pressure. So I do like that mix of both pressure and disruption, a little bit like Ethersworn Canonist. So again, just kind of filling a role for the meantime as I just test it out and see how it performs. There are little things as well, like if you're attacking with an Inkmoth Nexus and they try to wasteland it, you can of course sacrifice the Selfless Spirit to fizzle the wasteland, which is really nice. Another great card is Supreme Verdict, which has been seeing a little bit of play in some of these Jeskai builds. But I think this is also a flex spot because at the end of the day, it might just be we can't beat Meltdown. So let's try and get under it. And if they have it, they have it. That's really just the only real way you can play around that. Council's Judgment is probably the next card that I want to talk about. Council's Judgment is just still, in my opinion, a pretty nice 1-for-1. So if I want to get something like a Collector Uthop play, or a Teferi, or a Back to Basics, or something like that, I think Judgment's just quite nice. It's also removal 5 and 6 against Murktide if I really want it, or some other threat like a Monastery Mentor, or really anything that, really anything that I run up against. Judgment is just quite nice. I haven't had an issue with double white just yet in those matchups, but it could potentially be where a matchup like Death and Taxes, it could be quite hard to get Judgment online with things like Port and Wasteland coming down and taking those out. The last card in the sideboard is just a Retrofitter Foundry. It's just a nice way to grind, but that could be incorrect. It is obviously really nice off Saga. It's really nice with Ornithopter, because if you go turn 1, land, Retrofitter Foundry, Ornithopter, you can just sack the Ornithopter straight away to create a 4/4, which is fantastic game 1 against Blue-Red Delver, which in a previous iteration I did have the Retrofitter Foundry in the main deck. But it could be overkill, and by that I mean for a lot of decks where I want to grind, if they're already bringing in artifact hate, then it might just be a case of trying to go for something a little bit more left field that doesn't just get hit by the classic cards that are coming in against this sort of deck. And I've actually been finding this a lot as well, because with Abzan Maverick, there's been a few times where I've tried to play game 1 without showing the black source, which to most opponents would think Plague Engineer. But to be fair, I think my opponent knowing about Plague Engineer probably isn't going to board that differently, even if they didn't see that I had black in the deck. I still think that Plague Engineer, although a great card, is still going to be hit by some of the cards brought in, because it's still a creature in a creature deck, and my opponent's going to be boarding for a creature deck. So a little bit along those lines, where Retrofitter Foundry is really nice. It's just a way to hopefully start making my opponent trade removal with tokens created by Foundry. But at the same time, it's also a card that I'm bringing into, games 2 and 3, where my opponent's going to have a lot more removal for artifacts. So that's definitely something to consider with how much impact it's really going to have. On paper, it looks great. It works with the deck really well. It can turn on Affinity just by itself. It can make, Ornithopters 4/4s, but yeah, that's probably another card that I'm kind of looking at and going, really? Is that what I really need? And then I think just going forward, the last change is probably the Leylines. We technically can cast them with the Mox Opals, but I think these could be Surgicals. Again, quite good against the graveyard decks, because they can be cast as early as your opponent's turn 1. They aren't too awkward either. And generally taking out things like Uro or Life from the Loam or Punishing Fire is still really strong. Obviously turning off the whole graveyard as a resource is really nice through Leyline, and making your opponent have a removal spell before they can start actually building out their graveyard again. But there's also the world where it's better to have Surgical, where they actually try to go for it, and you get to Surgical a Grizzlebrand, or maybe their one Dredger, or maybe their Loam, which was their only engine. So that's definitely a consideration. But so far the deck's been doing really well. We have some screenshots here just from some previous decks. This was against lands, where you can see that going wide was just a great play against Mazavith. And having something like an 11/11 Esper Sentinel means that even if they are casting Loam once a turn with all these lands in play, you're going to be drawing a card, which is pretty sweet. Obviously this is quite nice as well. So against Mono-Black Pox deck, you're talking about Sudden Edict. So although Mum doesn't protect Inkmoth from Sudden Edict, it kind of does, because it is the creature you can just sack instead of the Inkmoth. It's always nice to show off some games against Blue-Red, which has actually turned out really well. And I think the big card there is Shadowspear. Just being able to have that ability to not only apply pressure, but also regain that life that your opponent's been trying to obviously get down to 0. But yeah, like this is this was before a meltdown, and this was after a meltdown. So it's quite nice to see that meltdown isn't the be all end all, and you can definitely get there without artifacts doing the job for you, which is quite nice. But yeah, like here, Pithing Needle obviously doing a lot of work being on Wasteland, but yeah, obviously, I'm a big fan of showing some Blue-Red Delver going down, and if you want to get above Blue-Red Delver, then definitely get on board and see how this deck goes. You might really enjoy it. But hey, I hope you guys enjoy the league. Let me know how you would play this deck. Let me know any questions you have in the comments. I'd be happy to ask. But until then, we'll see you in round 1. Cheers. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back with some Legacy Hammer, which is a deck that I saw from Spider Face that I think has a lot of legs. This is a pretty nice play on the play hand with double mum. We have a win-con in Nexus, we have Saga to find Hammer, we have Sigarda's Aid to actually equip, which is pretty sweet, so having protection as well is really nice. This deck is pretty interesting. I do have main deck Ethersworn Canonists as a way to hedge against. Well, that's pretty interesting, so I think that's just going to be a turn 2 potentially, because we get to go Inkmoth here. Yeah, I wanted to play Inkmoth this turn so it's live next turn. Play Sigarda's Aid this turn. And then I don't get to play turn 1 Mum here. Or turn 2 Mum, sorry, but we do next turn have activate Inkmoth, put in Hammer, attach Hammer, swing. But if this is like a Pox deck, that could be pretty rough. Mum here also playing around Sudden Edict for us, which is really nice. So we'll see what happens. Another Inkmoth. Alright. Well. Oh, which one did I just play? Oh no. Oh no. Does it show me? It doesn't. Ah, no. Well, hopefully. Ah. Now this is an MTGO issue for sure. I assume it goes behind, right? So surely this one is it? Please. I should have just played the den to not actually have this issue. But hopefully we've just created the correct one. That's going to be okay. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Wow. That's a colossal move. A colossal move. That's just, that's really poor UX. And I shouldn't be surprised. But that's also on me, so... we do get to play Mum out here though and kind of get around Sudden Edict again, which is nice. So we'll play Saga. Get Saga online. Play Mum. Activate Inkmoth. Move to attacks. Attack here. Alright, go for the hammer. Well, that didn't matter, but that was just, you know, in a real match, or at least a more competitive match, that would have been a huge blowout. So, pretty fortunate there. This is going to be an interesting match. I don't mind just having more creatures in this matchup. I don't mind the Canonists, probably not on the draw, but against the Dark Ritual starts, I could definitely see the Canonists being okay. Again, just being cards that are out for Sudden Edict is quite nice, so I think it's going to be something like the Spirits and the Judgments. The Shadowspear I can see coming out. The Jitte could be fine as just ways to remove creatures. The Mox Opals are fine. The Ornithopters are great. Sentinel's great. Mum's still fine. I could see myself going down on the hammers. Kaldra is also interesting because how often is Stoneforge going to be surviving? I think it might just be going down to 2 Canonists post-board. I don't think I need Graveyard Hate. Retrofitter Foundry is actually quite good against a Pox style deck, so that's probably better than Canonist in general. I might just have a Relic as well in case they do have some sort of like Crucible effect, or maybe even Bloodghast. It's nice that we can put Relic into play and then later on just draw a card off it if we really need to. We have a 1-lander here. with a pretty high curve, so I am gonna mulligan this. I can't believe that that Inkmoth play. Look, I definitely won't make that mistake again. Okay, this is better. It's actually a really nice hand. We have the Moxen as well, off the Ancient Den. So I'm going to keep this. Wow, this is actually pretty tough. I want the land, I want the Mox, I want the Ornithopter, and then I probably want to lead with Sentinel. I could see it being the map, because if we draw a second land, we're fine anyway. But yeah, I think that's fine. We have a pretty high chance of drawing a mana source. Inquisition, okay. I wonder if they take the Sigarda's Aid or the Sentinel here. I assume it's between these two. They take the hammer, okay. Saga's actually quite a nice draw. Let's go with Ancient Den, Mox, Ornithopter, Esper Sentinel, and then play the Aid. It's a pretty nice turn one. The Ornithopter here also relevant because it does play around Sudden Edict on the Esper Sentinel. Will they pay? Oh, they don't. Okay. I wonder if this is a Curses deck, potentially. Turak. Okay. And then we have to discard 2 cards. That's pretty good. Inkmoth is pretty nice here. Inkmoth just makes Hammer off the top really strong. Dark Confidant's really good here as well. Saga's very nice. Pretty happy to attack here with both my creatures. I could keep the Esper Sentinel back so the Dark Confidant can't also attack. I think that's actually correct because 6 a turn is very different to 4 a turn. Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Okay. Two cards for my opponent. They don't swing with both, which is nice for us. Alright, Saga becomes online. I'm not going to attack either. Swamp. This Saga is going to be huge as well. Also, if they don't have an out to the Inkmoth next turn, we can activate the Inkmoth before the trigger, get Hammer, and then equip the Hammer to Inkmoth. We know they have Swamp in hand, so 3 other cards. They can't really afford to tap out at sorcery speed either with like a Liliana, so that's pretty tough. Alright, Castle. So 2 cards in Swamp. no attacks is pretty huge for us. I guess they can't really with the Saga being so huge. 8. Alright, so let's activate Inkmoth. I'm just not sure if we can respond to the trigger or not of Hammer. It's pretty huge. Do they have like a fatal push? They can try to castle into one, but wow, we just get there. That's pretty nice, especially on a mulligan to a, you know, a Turek as well. This deck showed some really nice signs of just being able to grind a little bit. Top decks were great. Obviously, there's some really bad top decks with, you know, other Ornithopters or other Moxen, but really nice to start off like this. Hope you enjoyed. Hey team, we're on the play with a pretty nice hand. We have turn 1 Mum into Canonist, or we have turn 1 Sentinel as well. I kind of like the thought of turn 1 Mum into Stoneforge here. Mum into Stoneforge or Mum into Canonist can also just be kind of our win cons, which is quite nice. So I'm happy to lead on the Mum instead of the Sentinel in this case. There's some reasons that I like to lead on Sentinel. Sentinel, drawing a card most likely turn 1 against a lot of decks is really nice. And also just being a kind of bolt target before Mum comes down makes your opponent kind of rush for removal on the Mum. So there's definitely merits to turn 1 Sentinel. Also just being an artifact as well can turn on things like Mox Opal a little bit earlier. But I think in this case, because of this hand, the turn 1 Mum is just where I want to be. But Sentinel's been probably one of the best cards in the deck for me. It's been really strong as just a way to get some card advantage and yeah, pressure our opponent in how they want to play out their spells. If they want to pay 2 for a Ponder, pay 2 for a Brainstorm. Planes. Swords. Okay. I think here I'm happy to see if my opponent has another way to deal with Stoneforge. The question is, do I want to get Kaldra? There is a thought that if I'm getting Kaldra, I should play the Nexus, because if I'm putting in Kaldra next turn, I'm definitely not making a token, but they're going to force that. So this kind of just opens up my turn 2 play of, or my turn 3 play being create a construct. They did pitch a force, so looks like a blue-white control shell so far. I don't mind getting the Inkmoth into play. I don't think like Back to Basics is a card that I'm really concerned about here. I think Back to Basics just gets us anyway. That I'm pretty happy to get as many sort of man lands into play as possible here. Just a pass. Honestly, here I'm pretty happy to make another. Make my opponent either have a board wipe or start dealing with these with 1-for-1 cards. Now the question is, oh, we can actually needle my opponent and take them off a land. I don't mind that, especially if I want to start taxing them with this Sentinel. I actually like that a lot. I'm also going to go after most likely Flooded Strand because they have the basic planes, so I assume they have more Flooded Strands than Scalding Tarns if they don't have both. Sentinel's nice here as well because either my opponent has a board wipe and it replaces itself next turn, or it just allows us to attack for 1 more, tax them of course, a few little things here that all add up. Could have also gone for a map and then got another Saga. Especially in a match like this where it is going to be pretty grindy, but I think currently we have a pretty nice board state, especially seeing this flooded strand isn't there. They could trade a Teferi bounce on the needle for the strand, potentially. They could also just, of course, use a prismatic ending, but that's one less creature they're bouncing and one less creature they're exiling, which is really nice. But here, if they do want to cast a fairy, they can't actually pay the one on Sentinel because they can't fetch yet, so that's a small win as well. And this is where I really want to be. They're trading real cards for tokens, which is just really nice. Card advantage. All right. A few options here. I think just getting the Jitte online is pretty strong. But Canonist is also quite nice. I don't mind attacking first and just playing Canonist and Jitte. Actually, I should have done that to get the extra damage in. That was just incorrect. Definitely still learning with the deck, and I think sequencing with this deck is something that you can really gain from playing a few matches with. But hey, we get game one. So in this sort of matchup, I probably want to go a bit more mid-range. So the Judgments are great, the Retrofitter. I don't mind the Relics. I assume they have some sort of graveyard interaction, whether it's Snapcaster, Mystic Sanctuary, Timeless Dragon. They did show 3 colors, but not green, so I don't think of Uro, but I don't mind just having one Relic. The Selfless Spirits as well are quite strong, and the Lion Sash. Now this is where I'm very new to how I should board against this deck. I think the Canonists are still really strong, especially against the Cantrip deck. The Mums are still great. The Sentinels are still great. I could see myself going down on Hammer, and therefore going down on potentially the Aids, because we have the Paladin still, which is still going to be able to attack as well. I could also see myself going down on Mox Opal, because we're not going for such an aggressive start. And Mox Opal generally not that great against Teferi, just giving them kind of a free card to bounce. I think Shadowspear is still strong, but that could also just be a pretty easy drop here. They're probably playing things like Mentor, Snapcaster Mage. It might just be one Mox. If they are playing Mentor, I could see like Sword coming in. But we do have the Judgments as a kind of a catch-all. And then hopefully just bigger creatures in the Sagas. I do expect Meltdown, which is why I play the Selfless Spirit. It's just a way to keep our creatures alive. Also works really well against Supreme Verdict, which is nice. I think I might actually do that. The Ornithopters are obviously less good as well without the Sigarda's aids. I think this is a pretty messy sideboard plan, but all in learning. Nice hand. We have a great turn 1 play and just Relic Pass. We have turn 2 Canonist and then Stoneforge, which is nice, so pretty happy to keep this. The question is, would I rather lose the Relic or the Retrofitter Foundry to a Prismatic ending? It's probably the Relic. Next turn, it's probably just going to be Saga into Ethersworn Canonist. And then I have the turn 3 play of either hold up Saga or play Retrofitter Foundry and create a token straight away. They can also bounce the Saga with a Teferi, so there is a world where I just want to play the Inkmoth Nexus. It's actually a really nice draw. I think we're just going to go with the Plains here and get this Canonist online. I kind of want to bait out a Swords to Plowshares or a Prismatic Ending on this before we play the Stoneforge Mystic. I'm also just going to do this now and then 6. There's a world where it's better to play Inkmoth, because if they play Teferi bounce Relic, we could then untap and attack them with the Inkmoth to kill the Teferi. That's probably the better play. Mentor. Alright. That's why we brought in Sword. Alright. I will target them. I'll play the Foundry and then play the Stoneforge. Not sure if I want to get Kaldra though. They've already used one sword. They're going to force it though, so we don't have to think about that. So now Meltdown is the big card that my opponent wants on top of this Mentor, or else the Saga tokens will just get too big, which is quite nice for us. Welding Jar is another consideration as a way to play around some amount of destruction effects. But I kind of like Selfless Spirit, because it also attacks. Oof, second Mentor. 2 cards left for my opponent. Now that's pretty nice. But I think a token here is better than Judgment. But it is tough. It is definitely tough. Okay. Not too bad. Maybe I'm a little bit too tuned into just getting value off this. They tick up, interesting. They could have also kept it attacked, and then if I created a token and block, they could have main phase 2 gone for it. I guess they get to, Well, now it's interesting, because I can either cancel Judgment away a Mentor or cancel Judgment away the Teferi. They are going to attack. Interesting. Just trying to get that damage in. This is actually an interesting attack, because we get to take out a Mentor here, which is huge. Wow, I did not expect that sort of trade. Okay. So this is fine. But now what do I want to do? Maybe this is actually where Shadowspear is what it should stay in, because it's a great spot for it. I could get Mox Opal. Does that allow me to also... I think we're definitely creating. It might just be create and then get Mox Opal and then hold up create again instead of the Council's Judgment. But it's definitely tough. I could also get Needle to Fairy. Interesting. Needle to Fairy also keeps other Teferis off the table. Yeah, I don't mind that. The question is, can I attack? I am just going to pass here with Retrofitter open. I could have also Sorcery Speed tried to draw into a source to Plowshares. But next turn being able to Council Judgment is quite nice. Tough because they already have these monk tokens, but hopefully it'll turn out okay. Mentor is so strong that potentially it does warrant an answer straight away. Wow, they didn't find a land either with the expressive. That's pretty huge. All right. Oh, there's a sword. Well, that actually changes things, because let's go upkeep. Oh, we can't because of the Teferi. So let's go create a token. I don't mind searching just for another map here, but I potentially want the Mox Opal. Mox allows me to keep going with Foundry, which is quite nice. I'm also going to get aggressive here. It's actually, they have to block here, or else we can just activate Inkmoth and make them 10/10s. Just going to hold up cycling the Relic here. Can also just target them here. Mystic Sanctuary is probably the big card, but I don't believe it's online yet, and of course they don't have a fetch land, so little things that don't really mind. But constructs here, 9/9s, really nice. Oh, here's Serenity. Oh, we have the Judgment for it though, so this is fine. still have 3 cards. I actually don't mind making another servo. That's pretty nice. No, because they can pay through a force anyway. I'd rather keep this in hand. Oof. The nice thing here as well is that I can attack with everything. And then if they have a world where they can block a servo, we can just trade one in. But that's going to do it. So really nice to have the Out of Swords and Council Judgment there for both the Mentor and the Serenity. The attack with the 4/4, the 3/3 Mentor into a 4/4 was really interesting. And maybe my opponent just didn't pick up that maybe, you know, this Ancient Den was actually an artifact land as well. I think that's probably the case. But hey, we're 2-0, so that's pretty sweet. Hey team, welcome back. We are on the draw against the Yorion deck. Not a big fan of one-landers. This has a few turn 1 plays, but I would rather mulligan to at least 2 lands in a grindy matchup. All right, we got it. Can we go? Yeah, okay, let's keep this bottom the Sigarda's Aid and go turn 1 double Sentinel. All right, Mum's going to make this harder, but we'll see how this plays out. Okay. Den, Sentinel, Mox, Sentinel. Nice. Marsh Flats. I wonder if they're on the red splash. Thalia is going to be fine. Oh, Inkmoth. There we go. Do I want to show this just yet? I can't go for it next turn because we want to get the Puresteel in as well. Now the question is, what do I want? I think it might just be Jitte because it's actually castable as well, but they do have Mum and Thalia. So this is actually interesting. Let's run through our ideas. So we have the Puresteel to make the hammer free with Inkmoth, but Inkmoth is open up to both Wasteland, Port, and Swords to Plowshares, as well as a flyer. Not so much a flyer, because the colorless means Mum can't get protection. So Inkmoth is obviously open up to the most. Jitte is nice, but currently the Mum is holding back the Jitte. Kaldra is only really opened up to Swords to Plowshares and something like Skyclave Apparition. So I could see Kaldra just being the play. Shadowspear does allow us to get through the Mum, but currently we don't have like a big creature to get through with anyway. So a few little things. Kaldra also good with the Puresteel because it plays around Flickwisp flickering the token. We can just equip it for free. I think it's going to be Kaldra here. It's definitely kind of our way to get through Mum in a way. Solitude. Okay. Well, that's a 2-for-1 at least that we've gained a card from, which, although this is now stuck in our hand, we do have other ways to get it into play. All right. Another Sentinel. And then we will play Puresteel. Which obviously makes a Swords to Plowshares pretty tough here because Sentinel's just so strong at keeping those at bay. And look, we're only 3 mana away from Kaldra, so let's see how this goes. Also, not often you see 3 mana pass from D&T, especially when they don't have a port or a wasteland. Skyclave's okay. Canonist doesn't do a whole lot, but it is just another creature, which is nice. And we do get to go for 1 in the air here. I assume the Skyclave will go after the Puresteel Paladin. There isn't really a great card otherwise to go after. The Canonist isn't an issue, and the Sentinels are all 3, so I think it's just going to be Puresteel. It also turns off just the instant win of getting Hammer. No great blocks, so the Mum gets through. Sorry, the Thalia. I guess the one thing that Canonist is doing is keeping the Recruiter from attacking because protection only keeps it off for so long. Solitude's not too bad. Like, the Inkmoth isn't winning the game here, and getting that Solitude and other card, I guess Double Spirit out of the hand is quite nice. They could attack with the Skyclave there as well, but they're just going to take it easy. We do have a Karakas to draw into as well for the Thalia. Four mana. Wonder if that is putting Yuri onto hand. Fable. Okay. Oh, we do draw a lot of cards here, though. Yeah, wow. Wow. Okay. Haha. Game on. Ooh. Mum for sure. Ornithopter's free. And then I don't mind... we can't actually cast. We can get Puresteel in now as well. No, because we cast the Mum. I should have... Yeah, that's still fine. I think getting Mum online is great. And I can't go like Mox into Jitte because the Mox costs an extra through Thalia. But hey, we're getting somewhere. And Jitte could be the big card here. Especially if we draw a land off the top. But yeah, like, is Fabled worth it there? That's the big question. Is Fabled worth it if we're going to draw 3 cards? I could force the Mum here to activate, potentially. Which then means we get to untap and maybe even attack in with a creature to then just... I think that's where we have to be. Or else they get to untap with Fabled and then kind of just create a copy of Mum whenever they want. So I think here we actually have to do that. That is going to trade. Okay, that makes sense as well. Come on, land. Oof, nice. Or is it still too much? I think that, yeah, I think we had to kill the Thalia potentially. Because we only have access to 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. 3 for Jitte. But then, of course, Thalia is just too much. Tough. Maybe the play was to... No, it's tough, because even if we put multiple creatures in front of the Thalia, it doesn't work out the same way. They also get to create a Skyclave at instant speed, which is brutal. So I think here we just go for the Puresteel. And hold the Jitte. Maybe getting towards like Saga for Needle. Needling this creature. Okay, this also has Summoning Sickness for 1 more turn, which is pretty nice for us. Nothing I can do here, so let's untap. Oof, I've never been so happy to see a land. But they also have a red creature now, so I can't just give pro and swing in. So I think again it's best just to hold up Saga here. Because if we play Jitte for 3, equip for 2, and then give pro before damage, or before combat, before blocks I guess, we have to because they have these, so I think we just have to pass back and hold up our Saga token. Which, like, Saga token here is pretty strong anyway. This has been pretty interesting. And honestly, we're putting up a fight, which is really nice against Death and Taxes. The token is also just a great card to attack with because the Mum can't give protection to stop Jitte. But it will mean, unless we draw a land, we will have to float a mana with the Saga next turn to be able to play the Jitte, equip, and swing. But they will also be able to... Yeah, okay, we got a plan. Solitude's going to be fine because they don't have mana to copy it with Reflections here. So what if we give pro-white? They have a cost. Oh, do they have 1 floating? Rough. This is kind of a free block, I believe. They'll gain the life, but we might as well not take it. All right. So this is the turn where we can hopefully change some things. So what do we draw? We draw a land. So we don't have to float mana, but I think I just want to anyway, because we need 5 mana in total for this. And if we use this 3 mana or these 3 lands to make another token, we then have 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 off a Mox, but I do just want to get Needle for this reflection. So let's go float this for mana. Go and get Needle. Name Reflection of Kiki. Play a land. Play Jitte. Draw. Okay. Oh, it's actually free to equip as well. Ah, it's free to equip. I should have thought about that, definitely. Wow, they're just going to concede. So, yeah, pretty tough spot for my opponent, but I think really well played by us. I think that was a pretty sweet game. Canonists are probably where I'm going to be dropping, and just bringing in removal. Just bringing in a lot of removal. Sentinels, Mum, Sigarda's Aid, Hammers, Map, Needles, Shadowspear. Spirit's definitely interesting, but I'm not sure if I really want the Spirit, because a lot of their stuff is exile. I could see like 2 aids coming out and just relying on the paladins instead. I think that's okay. I could see a world where like potentially Lion Sash or Retrofitter is quite good, but we'll see how it goes. This hand is great. I'll keep this. We have access to turn 1 Mum interaction. We have 2 Stoneforges, which is great against with Kaldra, of course. Shadowspear to get through anything. How does the land pass? Sentinel would be great. Oh, Hammer. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So we could actually go. Big shout out to my opponent who said they subscribed to my YouTube channel. Very cool. All right, back to it. I don't want to lead on Ancient Den Mox Shadowspear because I could hold up Sword there, but I think I'd rather just go Plains Pass because we can still hold up Sword and it doesn't open me up to Wasteland, which could really take us off this turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. And yeah, we'll be going back to a lot more D&T content as well on the channel. I haven't played D&T in a little while, so it would be nice to come back to it and see how it performs. I assume we see Stoneforge here. Okay. Hopefully getting Kaldra. If they don't get Kaldra, I could save the swords, but I think here I just want to take that pressure off the board. Inkmoth. Does that change things? There is a world where it does if we draw into an aid. I don't mind playing second white source as a wasteland target. I could also play Shadowspear out first and then Mox into Stoneforge. There's also a world where I should just play the Mox Opal to play around Thalia. Oh wow, They don't have an answer. That's pretty huge for us. Okay. I actually like just going for second Stoneforge right now to go and get Jitte. Which really put the pressure on our opponent to have an answer for Kaldra, an answer for the Stoneforge Mystic with Jitte, which has already found us a card as well. So the card advantage there is just huge. All right, third lane for my opponent. Magus. Magus is going to be fine at this stage. Okay. Happy to play the Jitte. I am going to put it on the Germ here. Yeah, that's a really tough spot for my opponent. I could go wide and put it on the Stoneforge Mystic, and then they could trade with Stoneforge and a counter. But because we have so much mana, I don't mind that if we have to untap and then in our next turn put Jitte on a second creature. I just want to make sure this gets through. I guess if they have like Solitude, they would have probably Solituded earlier. But yeah, really nice to come out against DNT. And that was kind of the start that we needed, like an early piece of interaction with Swords to Plowshares. And then obviously this is why I love the Kaldra play in this deck, because Kaldra just wins games. And I think that this deck does need those plays where you can just win games, which sounds basic, but I think, you know, Mum into Stoneforge into Kaldra is very hard for a lot of decks to still beat, even though Kaldra's been in the format for so long. And I think that Mum into Canonist is also on a different axis, but still a really nice way just to kind of win a game out of nowhere where your opponent might not expect it. So really cool to see. We'll see you in the next. Hey, welcome back. We are on the draw with a pretty nice hand. We have a white source, 3 lands, one being Saga. We have Sentinel, and we also just have Sigarda's Aid with Hammer, so pretty happy to keep this. This is also going to be a Kahia matchup, so it's going to be lands, which might be a little bit tough, especially seeing that we have both of these, and a Maze, which is a great answer to what we're trying to achieve, but... Oh, Opal means we can actually go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. There's also a world where our opponent doesn't see the hammer coming and therefore taps the Maze as it does tap for mana over time. But they just have the 2020 ready, so that's pretty tough. Alright. Luckily we do have Inkmoth give protection. Oh, we just drew Karakas as well, so... Karakas is going to be pretty nice. Means we can attack. Ah, I should have played... Yeah, I guess they have the Maze here, but I should have definitely played the Sigarda's Aid and Hammer. All right. This would be cool if you could target any creature. So you could target the MTG and make it lose flying. That'd be pretty cool. Wasteland's still a really known out for my opponent. A few good outs that they have. Forest is going to be fine. Loam. Do they pay for it? They don't. Wow, we actually get a map out of it. That's pretty huge. I can find our second Karakas if needed. Pretty happy to untap here. I probably want to get Saga online more than anything else. Especially seeing that they don't have up mana to both go for the combo and crop for Wasteland. But I could see a world where they can't even make it here, then untap in Wasteland, because then we can just Karakas in response. So I don't have to play the Inkmoth now to have Inkmoth and Karakas as ways to deal. So let's go with Saga. They could also copy Saga with their own stage if they want to go on that route, which is pretty interesting. Play Puresteel. And then I don't mind putting the hammer down on Mum potentially. I could also get to a stage where we can Inkmoth, where we can Urza Saga for Needle, name Maze, and then get in with the Inkmoth Nexus, giving pro black so they can't even block with that. So I think that's actually the play down the line. I could attack with both creatures, but I kind of just want to keep them back, just in case they have some weird removal spell. We don't have to worry about punishing fire, thankfully, because Hammer can come in at instant speed and just equip to the creature they target. Okay. Ooh, Dakvaden. Well, I'm pretty happy they didn't draw that. Alright. Loam's pretty good. Canonist is kind of nice here as well, just to slow things down a little bit. But next turn we get to get a token, and then the following turn after Inkmoth is played, go and get Needle, name Maze, and hopefully get in that way. Oh, they have a deck. What do they take? I wonder if they take the map. I sadly don't have a way to sack it, so they're just going to get that. But at least no matter what, the deck will die. That's pretty good. I'm happy to hammer in response. No, we don't need to. I assume there's named Karakas with this, which is a really nice draw. We don't really have an out to that. I guess we can try to get to a stage where we could also find Shadowspear to get in. But I think now, because they have access to Wasteland, that Wasteland turns off this Inkmoth, so I will actually try to go for Hammer. Hammer on the Sentinel is also quite good, because it means they have to pay a ton if they want to stop us from drawing a card. Onto here. Another Pust. Okay. I do want to keep up mana for Saga, so I think we're just going to go with Canonist, hold up Saga. And then everything attacks Dak. I guess the mum could attack them, because if they maze the Sentinel, then that's fine. I think this is still okay. But stealing the map was pretty crucial. They hit their own Saga. They probably... Oh, they go for map now. Okay. Probably Wasteland on the Saga. Guess they could also go after the Inkmoth. Interesting. Alright, we get to draw. Oh, another hammer. Okay. Another wasteland. Yikes. Has to be Needle, pretty much. Hmm. We can play a Paladin here, and then play another Hammer, and draw an additional card off this equipment. We'll draw first. Ah, I think I've actually stacked this wrong, yeah. I should have drawn first to see if we do draw Needle. I'm going to put it on the construct. No, I want to actually just make a lot of things big. So I think this is fine. I can also change this up if things change. Oh, another hammer. Oof, this is getting close to lethal. I can't play another Sentinel, but I can play another hammer. Alright, so we want to go this first, and then these. I guess we'll target the Canonist. Draw. Okay, that's a blocker. Draw. Okay. Oh, this is actually an artifact as well, so I can play this through Canonist. Wow, they're just going to concede. Wow. That was a sweet game. All right. Sideboarding. Sideboarding is going to be pretty interesting. I want the Leylines. I want the relics. I want the judgments. The canonists can come out. The mums are still fine, but I'm going to assume they're on blast zone, which makes them a little worse. I don't mind just having Probably one. I guess DAC is also a consideration. Lion Sash is also pretty sweet. No, let's just, we can't really play around DAC. I think that's just not going to happen. It could potentially just be Jitte. I think that's pretty strong. One, two, 3, 4. Okay. We have a turn 1 Stoneforge, which is pretty sweet. Probably just going to go for Kaldra here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. It is worth noting that Mox Opal is my way to actually hard cast a Leyline. Loam's pretty good here, but it's not a removal spell. Wow. Sentinel is fantastic. We get to go Saga. Sentinel. They're going to fetch and response. Potentially they want to crop rotate. Maybe for a maze? This is going to be fine. Tower. Tower's pretty cool. Does answer the Kaldra. But we do have Pithing Needle off the Saga down the line. It could also be a world where Relic is correct off the Urza's Saga, just to get rid of the Loam. But it really depends what the board state is once we get to that stage. They also didn't Loam that turn, so they wanted to take the draw. They still have a tropical island in hand, I believe, unless that's what they just played. Yeah, I think it actually was, sorry. Yeah. This is going to be fine. Wonder if they're the same Urza Saga. Hammer, okay. I believe Sigarda's 8 allows us to get around that. I actually don't mind the Inkmoth here. How do I want to play this? I think it might actually be plains. I can also just attack with everything here. This is fine. Giver of Runes is a card I've seen in this list, and that's actually a good reason to run Giver is because of Tower of the Magistrate. A small card, but it is seeing a lot of play in depths variants. Do they loam? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We actually have lethal next turn if they have nothing. Because we get to create 2 8/8 sagas and 1 can attack. Opponent needs a 2020 ASAP. Do they have a way to find it? No. Nice. Really, really cool. And there you could just see that the explosive starts with Mox Opal just really allow this deck to pressure our opponent as fast as possible. A turn 2 Kaldra is very hard to beat. That's a 4-turn clock. So pretty happy to get up against lands. We'll see you in the next one. Hey team, welcome back for round 5. This is going to be a mulligan. There's no real mana here. It's also going to be a mana here. A mulligan, sorry, because let me hear it. There is no mana here. Oof. Do I say it again? Because there just isn't no mana here? Oh my gosh. Well, we're definitely... I don't think we're going to be going down to 3. Bottom. I kind of like that Sigarda's 8 is turned on by white, 1 white, and not 2. So I'm going to drop Puresteel. And then I think it's worth... It's probably actually just doing this. I think making my land drops is pretty key. Opponent goes to 5 as well, so we'll see what happens. Forest Soul Guide. Okay. I mean, white source into Kaldra. That's what we need here. Oof, not what we need. So if I right click, I should know. Newly controlled. That's how you know. Okay. So with this one, we want to activate it. To activate this one. All right, we're looking good. We learned from our mistakes. The biggest level up you can have in the game of Magic the Gathering is once you make a mistake, don't make it again. It's all right to make mistakes. Just make sure you learn from them. If opponents light on lands here, they could potentially just throw this Soul Guide away right now, knowing that most Infect decks don't use the graveyard, outside potentially of a card like Become Immense, but mostly irrelevant. Saga. Okay. Well, that's a clock. But Saga and Forest, not something that I'm too used to here. All right. Look, we're going to be getting in there. I'm not going to play the Ornithopter yet either. I'm just going to hold it back. Oh, Beseiju. Oh, that's actually quite nice for us. We get a Plains. All right. Oh, but I don't want a 6. We want to play Mum. That's actually, that might change things. I am going to play the Ornithopter. I'm not too sure up against, and like if my opponent for some reason has Sudden Edict in their deck, then I obviously don't want to lose that. Do they have a mana source? They cast Mox. Okay, pitching Dark Depths. Okay, now this is making a bit more sense. Shadowspear. Alright, we only really have one play here. The question is, if we go for Stoneforge Mystic and get Kaldra, do they just name Stoneforge Mystic? I think if that's the case, I want to get Jitte, just because it's something we can actually do. I think that's the play. I don't want to attack here either, because of course the Saga token's quite big. But Saga here really strong. Another matchup where Giver of Runes would be kind of cool, but I think that Mum being able to target herself is just the reason why I think it's a little bit too good. They do get Needle. Do they name Stoneforge? Yes. Okay. No great blocks here, so we're going to let this through. We go down to 15. They don't have a land follow-up, which is nice. Another Thopter. Okay. Let's get Jitte into play. I will play the Thopter. And then just pass. One attack with the Jitte allows us on the current board to hold back Stoneforge and make it a 5/6, which is great against these constructs. Beseiju's fine. That's actually a card that I'm not too worried about. And that's obviously their draw for turn as well. I think I will chump here with one Ornithopter. But currently we do have Metalcraft due to it. But if we need Metalcraft next turn, we can also... Ooh, Shadowspear is a fantastic draw. I think I need white next turn, so I can equip this for free. And then also equip back. But I think I still can block here, because I can make the Inkmoth an artifact as well. A white source is just brutal here, because I also get Shadowspear down, and then it's free. So it's white source here. It's white source, baby. Here we go. Boom. Okay, so we're so close to being dead, honestly, but it might even be attack with the Mum. Then we go up to 13. We can block a little bit with Ornithopter anyway. Yeah, this is going to be the play. Oh, they have crop for something. Maybe maize. Okay. Not too bad, as we can block one of their creatures now. Just means we don't get the tokens, but that's pretty good from them. They could potentially unmaze. What they draw. Okay. So we're kind of forced to block in an odd way. I think I'd rather throw away the Stoneforge Mystic. But Stoneforge potentially attacking next turn is where I might want to be. Like, how crucial is it for me to have Puresteel online next turn? If we draw a land, we have the Jitte, the Inkmoth, the Ornithopter potentially. I think I need the Stoneforge to attack with. So let's go block like this, block like this. And then there's no need to protect. Right. But now it's really tough. Okay, that's interesting. Cast. Equip. No swing. All right, 2 cards in hand for my opponent. Another Saga is very good. So we get to block here, and then we're taking 7, so we have to gain 4. But because the Stoneforge stops 2, we do get 2 more tokens. So let's go block here, block here. I don't believe there's a world where I can kill this. Because if I go make this 7, they could just remove it from play. So I could make this a 5/6, and then with my other 2 counters kill this, but then they just Shadowspear on this and swing back, so that sadly doesn't do it. Seven, take 5. Yeah, we have to. Really tough spot. I think we're nearing no outs, especially with this other Saga. Yeah. Pack it in. Not too bad for a 4. Honestly, we put up a bit of a fight there, so can't be too unhappy. What do I like? What do I like? Not too sure how much of their graveyard they're using, but I think Relic is fine just by itself, not having the Leylines. I don't mind the Council's Judgments either, as just a nice way to remove things. I also like the Lion Sash. I think the Sentinels can definitely come out. Needle Map Shadowspear is still good. Jitte is still strong. Puresteel. Mums I could see coming out as well, just out of 2. Potentially there's a world where I want swords and then taking out 2 mums. Hey GD, thanks for the follow. Yeah, even though there's a recorded leak. I think we'll go ahead with something like this. Selfless Spirit's always interesting as well, but it does have flying, a little bit of evasion. Maybe I'll not go on the sword plan and try out just being a bit more beat down. But it could blow off my face. That's what testing's all about. Love to play first. Another 1-lander. Really tough. Definitely not keeping this. A no-lander. Oof. No, I think there's a better 4. Okay. Bottom 1, 2. Boom. What do we got, opponent? Really tough. There's definitely some considerations for the mana, but I think it's pretty strong. I think, 20 lands and 4 Moxen is fine for a deck that curves out at pretty much 2. Having 4 mana is kind of nice because you have a lot of, Jitte, which is 2 and then 2. Okay. Wasteland means I'd love to find probably either an Inkmoth, just as a land that I'm pretty happy to throw away, or another Plains. And there's the Inkmoth. All right. Go and get that Kaldra. I think if they wasteland us, it's a sign that they don't have an answer to Stoneforge and that they want to see if they can buy some time by us not having a second land. Ugh. We'll target them. I'm actually going to... this is such a good resource, though. I think I will see if we can get the Wasteland. If there's a world where I should play Plains first in case they have Force of Vigor, so I can actually throw this relic away. I'm definitely getting closer to needing just to cycle it. Okay, well... I'll take the card draw over the ability to search. Okay, that's a start. Does that mean they have Loam? Potentially? What do I want off the top? I want Stoneforge. Like, that's probably the card that gets me back in here. Plains. Not going to do it. We do have a stable mana base, which is nice, and our opponent isn't doing too much. They're also on 3 cards, but with how they display that turn, I assume they're going to untap and be able to loan back this Wasteland. Okay. This is still their only green mana, which is interesting. Alright, we get another turn. Well, definitely getting in for 2. Because we're drawing 1 card a turn, I probably don't mind playing the Ancient Den out here, because it could potentially get a Wasteland that then a Saga next turn won't get hit by. But if I draw like a Jitte, I kind of want to have like the 2 and 2. I think that's probably the higher upside of just having that access. But Reclaimer in this version definitely means I should have brought in the Source to Plowshares. Alright, pretty much Karakas or bust. We do have Selfless Spirit as a flyer, but it's not great. Okay. I mean, that gets close. We get to draw a card here. Well, there's a world where next turn we can potentially get in with Colossus Hammer in the air with Nexus. But it's going to take some doing. They can also just give Pro with Reclaimer, I guess. If they sack the Saga. So, turn 2 short. But, I mean, like, on another, what, 4? Like, honestly, doing a lot better than I expected. Wasteland's very good. Wow, not going for it? Unless this isn't a step version, that could be it. Oh, it'd be pretty cool if I could like sack this to save. Like if I, like maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way that if I activate this, they like wasteland it in response, and then I can sack the Selfless Spirit in response to like bait out this wasteland. It's a case of my opponent doing something wrong. Okay. Well, I had to try. Loam. Still so close. Ooh, ooh. What about... Does this work? Shadowspear? Relic means I can't wasteland in response. Does this? Oh, this is so close. Wow. Ha. Ha. Are you kidding? Did we? Oh. Look, we get another turn here, which is fantastic. They're going to try to tap that, but obviously they can't. And then I assume we should just move these over. Unless I want to keep both of these bigger than Punishing Fire. I mean, next time we also get to Kaldra. I guess Blast Zone from the bin does it. Oh, but so close. Wow, they don't get the Blast Zone. Do they have something else? Huh. Extraordinary turn. Honestly, I did not think we had any chance. Maybe they have like a bounce. They get map. I guess they could get maze here. Maze is okay. All right. Oh, but Kaldra and then a lethal means they have to block with the Reclaimer. Oh. Just so close. We do get another draw as well with the Relic, which is nice. All right. Not what I want to see. The question here is there any difference to putting in the Kaldra first? I don't think so. We still have Metalcraft. We haven't played a land yet either. Another hammer? Oh my gosh. Does this have lifelink? Is there a way? I don't think so, because the maze takes care of the one with Shadowspear. Permits your opponent's controller lose hexproof and indestructibility, but it doesn't really matter. Do I have an out? Chat, let me know if you can see something that I can't. This says trample, so we can get there. We got there. I think we got there. Because we can put Shadowspear on the Kaldra and then make this lethal? No, we put Shadowspear. Ah, so close. Because this has haste. We can also draw a card here. I thought I just had it in my head, but maybe I don't. Maybe there's another way. I guess we get 2 draws here as well. Well, okay, that buys us time. I know it's right in front of me, but I can't seem to find it. I know it's there as well. So if we put... We can play around with this as well. Oh, because, yeah, of course. Of course. This is it. This is it. Lifelink Trample. This has Trample as well, so like the 1 block of Reclaimer doesn't get there. I think that's it. Wow! Wow! Yes! Yes! Oh, wow! On a 4! So good! Oh my gosh, well, These are definitely coming back in. The Leyline's most likely. Oh, wow. I am so happy with myself, even though I took so long to see the line. I apologize for that. I apologize profusely. It could be the Jitte here. Although Jitte is kind of nice because they are a bit more creature centric with things like even, you know, Jitte being able to kill a Reclaimer with just one hit is pretty cool. Wow, that was a race. That was sick. I do like the hammer lines still, but yeah, I think the hammer lines are great. I'm just not too sure. Like Stoneforge Mystic's great, Puresteel's great, Selfless Spirits I think are still fine. Sentinels I think are still good. Maybe I think the Leylines might be a trap, which is weird, but we already have Lion Sash, we have the relics. That was definitely interesting though. No, I think the Leylines are correct. Maybe just 2 swords. And then it could just be like a little trim. I don't mind that. Something like this. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this could just be, like... It's very turbo Nexus, but we'll see. Actually, we obviously need a way to equip the... I thought we had a Sigarda's Aid here. We don't. But that's okay. Alright, opponent on 5. We do have planes to start off with, which is nice. Puresteel. Okay. 1. Well, that's actually pretty interesting. 1, 2, 3. Now we have sword open. I was thinking for a second that we could actually get Puresteel down that turn as well and equip, but obviously not. No Wasteland. If no Wasteland, then I am potentially going to play the Saga next turn. I'd rather not lose the Inkmoth. Could also play Plains Pass. I don't mind that. I don't mind that either. I mean, this is a 2-turn clock by itself. Okay. This probably means they drew Loam, but they've already played a land for turn, so don't really mind. All right. There's a lot of good draws here. Thopter's not one of them, but that's okay. I don't mind Inkmoth now, though. Force. Okay. I'm going to play Inkmoth because it is kind of a must hit. Surely they loam here. Wow, they don't loam. We know they have Wasteland, but I find that quite peculiar. Oh, our own map. Interesting. I also don't need to play the Ornithopter just yet. And can honestly just yield till next end step here. Alright, so we're in their draw step. They hit Punishing Fire, which is pretty huge. But it looks like they're going to loam first. Punishing Fire really strong. The Force of Vigor obviously very good, and a big weakness for this deck is just how good Force of Vigor is against it. Oh, that's pretty huge. This has to be dealt with if I get Kaldra. I could also just go and get Lion Sash. I think Sash is actually pretty cool. Sash being able to deal with their graveyard's quite nice. But tough, like they also have to get Saga online, or else they can't win within time. They go for stage. Okay. I wonder if Surgical is better than Leyline in this deck, potentially. Leyline's obviously a very Feast or Famine card, where if you have it in your opening against the decks where it's relevant, that's great, but otherwise, this deck has a very hard time casting it, if at all. Okay, that's fine. Ooh. Okay. Aid's definitely interesting. Especially if over time we can find a way to get Hammer online. That'd be pretty cool. They probably just take out the Puresteel here. Yeah, okay. Sentinel. That's pretty sweet. All right. Looking in a pretty good spot. Which is really nice. This is the second lands opponent we played against. Hammer off the top. Hammer off the top would be pretty sweet, let's be honest. Tab's going to be okay. I think in this case, we probably just pay for Sentinel and then see if we can spike Hammer off the top. Karakas, that's also pretty good. But it looks like this one might just go down to time. Which isn't a great part of Magic, but you know, it's I think this deck has actually shown how well it can grind, which is pretty cool. Tough, but hey, we get there, which is pretty nice. The deck has been performing really, really strong, so I can't be too unhappy about that. So hope you guys enjoyed this. We will be back with some more Hammer time in the near future, but until then, definitely make sure you are following the channel, like this content if you really like it, and of course leave a comment. Let me know what you think, if there's anything you could tweak with this list, and yeah, just give me some feedback. Cheers.